afternoon, and welcome to Conservation Conversations with yours truly, Ann Marie Sorrell, Supervisor of Palm Beach Soil and Water Conservation District, Seat 2. It's a great but rainy where I am Friday afternoon, but I am joined today, and I'm so excited by our special guest, Miss Beth Rappaport, who is the president of COBRA, which is the Coalition of Boynton West Residential Associations. Thank you for joining me, Beth.
Thank you for having me, Ann Marie. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's amazing because I get to see you almost every month, at least virtually, where you have joined us for our soil and water conservation meetings. And it's just really good to see your community activism and how active you are and really representing not just COBRA, but, our environmental community and just having an interest in what's happening in agriculture, what's happening in, water matters and other environmental matters. So thank you for, all that you're doing in the community.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all that you do as well. I really admire how hard you work and how many different things you're involved in. It's really impressive.
Thank you. Listen, it's not a dull moment. So, Beth, I want to, first of all, for those who don't know you, give us a little bit about your background, how you started getting involved in environmental issues. Tell us about who is Beth.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Rhode Island, which is known as the Ocean State, and Rhode Island is really big on conservation. When I was growing up, they had a big campaign, Save the Bay, and everybody had Save the Bay bumper stickers, and it was about keeping the water in the bay clean. And I came down to Florida to go to college, attracted by the natural beauty, and I stayed here. And I was attracted to the West Boynton area also because of the natural beauty. Where else can you be close to the ocean and the beach and then also be surrounded by beautiful farmland? And I've been here a long time now, 24 years in the same immediate area in unincorporated Palm Beach County. And I started to get more involved in environmental issues when I saw the pieces of the farmland one by one getting converted into development. And I think the last straw really for me was the farm that we were getting our vegetables from every week in a box through a co-op, discontinuing that program and not being able to find really close by any type of similar program. And, once you've got your vegetables fresh from the farm, you're spoiled. You just can't eat vegetables from anywhere else. It's just not the same. I mean, it's close and there are some great places to go, but it's not quite the same as just fresh from the farm.
No, that makes total sense. And so about what time frame did that happen?
I would say we started, as a family, and I think I even got more involved when I had kids because I really wanted the kids to learn where food comes from. And so, probably started that about maybe 10 or so years ago. And it's really just in the past couple of years that the farmland has been rapidly disappearing from our area in really big parcels, like hundreds of acres at a time. And so that's when, and I've also been very involved in the community and my HOA and things like that. And the nice thing about an organization like COBRA is they have a lot of different interests. So, the Water and Wetlands Committee of COBRA is just one of many things, but it all ties in together really for, quality of life in the community in the area that you're living in.
I must say my first engagement and even knowledge of COBRA was when I started running for office because I had no idea that COBRA existed and the level of involvement of residents. That is so impressive to me. Can you tell us a little bit about background of COBRA, maybe a little history? How did you all formulate, I think it's over 100 HOAs, right? If I'm not mistaken. How did you all formulate this organization and have it just run? It's such a well-run organization, but you're very active. You definitely are vocal with various elected officials on different issues. Give us a little perspective into COBWRA.
So COBWRA was formed 41 years ago, and it was 7 communities at the time in West Boynton that got together, and they were concerned about development. They wanted to make sure that there was enough infrastructure for the residents in the way of schools and parks. And so it started as a small active group. And it's really impressive that, for 41 years, even though the area has changed greatly and some of the needs have changed, a lot of things really are still the same and are still the very, the basic issues of advocacy, quality of life, wanting to maintain the natural beauty of the area. And so today we do have 114 HOA and condo members and 140,000 residents. We're just getting more details from the census, but it looks like about 140,000 residents. So it's a pretty big group. And we take up almost 55 square miles in Palm Beach County, the boundaries of our organization. And we have a lot of very active volunteers. We're nonpartisan, we're volunteer-based, and we have a lot of very hardworking people that are really committed to the community and just making the community a great place to live, work, learn, and play.
That is amazing. Are there any other large associations like that in Palm Beach County?
Yes, there are 2 other fantastic organizations. One is the Alliance of Delray, and they are very similar in size. So that is the unincorporated Delray, so just south of COBWRA. And then south of that is the West Boynton Association, and they are also, very large, very active. But each organization, while we have similar goals and similar intents, we are in different places and stages of development. So the West Boca area is, more built out. And so their concerns are different than ours, where we still have a lot of land that could potentially be developed.
And speaking of that, let's talk about the agricultural area.
Yes.
So I think there's the ag area, and then there is the wildlife refuge, which I was exposed to, God, I can't believe it's been that long. Probably back in 2007 was my first encounter, and I had no idea that such a beautiful preserve and I can't even destination exists in our county. And right there in West Boynton, all the way down to West Boca. But then you have the agricultural reserve that was created to not have development come and infringe upon that particular area. And I know that there's just been so much happening as of late in the last few years, especially from the dredging of the company that came in and just kind of dug up everything and created this huge lake to now development happening on some of the land. So give us some perspective on what's happening and what are the residents thinking right now?
Everybody that lives in the ag reserve area is quite concerned because, the intent of the ag reserve was to, there's different preserve parcels in the ag reserve. Some are owned by South Florida Water Management, some are owned by the government, some are owned by the county, and then some are owned by individuals. And the intent is for all these things to work together to create a place where farming can ideally exist side by side with with residential development and perhaps a little bit of commercial development to support the needs of those that live and work in the ag reserve. And it seems like lately there has just been one very large scale proposal after another sent our way. And, we understand that land is scarce in Palm Beach County. It's starting to get scarce. There are housing issues. We're really running out of places to affordably house our residents. And so it makes the ag reserve very attractive because there are large parcels of land, easy access to main roads, 441, Lyons, the Turnpike, even easily get to 95. On the surface, it looks like a really great place to put some development. But because of how the ag reserve was sort of designed from the beginning, there really is not infrastructure for all of that. The roads in the ag reserve, the road system was based upon one home per acre. And so some of these housing proposals are really dense and would put way more traffic on the roads than the roads can bear. Some of the roads cannot be widened, so they can't accommodate additional traffic. There's other places where we could use a road, but there's no space to put the road. Then there's the issue of schools and the park and library and all the things that make it a nice place to live. Right now, all of those things are under development. So in about a year and a half, we will have finally a middle school, a library, a really nice park, and all those types of things. But if all this additional housing comes in, we're going to be behind again. So we're just going to get caught up. But it took so many years to build all those things. It's faster and easier to build more housing than it is to build the infrastructure. So somewhere along the way, we got a little behind.
Right. And now you're seeing that, which makes sense, because if you're just getting a middle school just to support the current population, now when you start adding an influx of development to the place, and it only takes like one to set precedent. So that's the fortunate yet unfortunate things about when we talk about real estate development, is that once you set a precedent and those codes are changed and things are adjusted for that development, now another developer can come and says, well, you made that exception there, or this has been a new precedent that's been set, so we want to drop our development here too. So it does create a growth challenge. And like you said, if now it's building more houses, that means more residents. And we know that South Florida as a whole experienced just in 1 year almost 40,000 resident growth. And I believe Palm Beach County got a nice chunk of that, probably over 10,000 new residents in Palm Beach County in just a year. So, and I know that growth is continuously happening as well. And they're looking for a place to live. So I understand that that's also why the development boom is happening too. So yeah, there's definitely going to be more impacts, because more people means more schools, more retail, more restaurants, all of that. So it's kind of like, once it starts, when does it stop?
Exactly.
Yeah. And more traffic, more pollution, more, yeah. So I can definitely understand the concerns of the residents. I want to backtrack a little bit, because when we talk about agriculture in Palm Beach County, I'm not sure how many people understand the economic impact of, and I just want to share a couple of stats, because Palm Beach County's agricultural, from an economic standpoint, we have about a $1.4 billion economy when it comes to agriculture, which makes it probably, if not the largest, at least the second largest industry in our area. I believe hospitality and tourism is the largest, and then agriculture follows it very closely. So really, people really need to understand the asset that we have when it comes to agriculture, and Beth's and Cobra's concern about building and developing starts to shrink agriculture. In the Glades, we already had a portion of ag land go to building a reservoir. So the more that we take out of production, the less agriculture we produce. And for those who don't know, we lead in sweet peppers, cucumbers, specialty leaves, eggplants, okra, herbs, lettuce, rice, radishes, celery, sod, of course, sugarcane, and sweet corn. So what are your thoughts on just the trends in agriculture in Palm Beach County and where we're going, especially if we continue with this development?
Yeah, it's really concerning. You know, I can certainly understand the farmers' concerns about the profitability of farming and the fact that, you know, imports have really driven down the pricing of a lot of the items that we are really successful at growing here in South Florida. So that's really a huge problem. I think somewhere along the way, there were not enough protections in place to protect the pricing from the farmers. And I do know that there have been some alternate crops looked into that could possibly be more profitable. But I haven't heard very much about that lately. But that's something that was very interesting because it would still preserve farming while at the same time meet the needs of the landowners and farmers.
Well, I think one of those alternate crops, especially, one of my favorite crops right now, is in the cannabis industry. And even if we look at hemp, there's a gentleman, I don't know if you've heard of him, but Doug Fine. He has a few books, one being American Hemp Farmer, but he's really big and he does a lot of courses and teachings on regenerative agriculture. And how that really helps the land and preserves the land and just kind of, really incorporating that practice into hemp farming and cannabis farming. So I know, like you, there has been some conversation. I know that a lot of the large farmers are looking more into it, but I'm just not sure where we are with the progression of that. I think one of the biggest issues when it comes to hemp is once you grow it, what do you do with it? And having the extraction and manufacturing operations to go with that.
Yeah, that's an excellent point as far as processing and everything else, because that would not be allowed probably in the same area. There would have to be an exception to allow that. So, yeah. That's a big complication.
It is, which I think is why a lot of the farmers have not completely jumped on that bandwagon just yet. But I do know that it is. It's in the works. It's something that's in the works and something that we got to continue to look out for. When we talk about, I want to just switch gears a little bit. What are some of the other maybe concerns or issues that you all are working on over at COBWRA?
Well, one of the things that's really top of mind is this proposed water bond. This is something that's very interesting to us because we are very concerned about water and the quality and quantity of it. We're very concerned about the aquifer, saltwater intrusion, and it really does tie into everything involved with agriculture. So this is something that's really interesting. We're watching it very closely. It's been a big topic at the county commission. It might be something that's going to be on the ballot this fall for voters to decide on. So that's something that I think a lot of education is going to be needed, so that the voters really understand, first of all, the potential risks that we're facing right now with our water supply and the timelines needed to address it.
Yeah. So, and again, another big education piece, because people don't always understand where their water comes from. You have no idea the phone calls that I get when there's a water issue at a particular city, and they're like, well, Ann Marie, aren't you the water person? And I'm like, okay, wait a minute, what's the water issue you're having, right? Or it's, this boil water may or may not affect you, because some people don't even understand the lines that they, the city lines or the county lines that they live in. And so, for example, when West Palm had a water, challenge a few months back, people were calling me and I said, okay, calm down. Who do you pay your water bill to? And they're like, oh, the county. And I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't impact you because you pay your water bills to the county, so you're on county water. Or you pay your water to the city, so yes, that impacts you. So, people just having a basic understanding of where they get their water from. But then on the larger picture, people understanding our primary water supply in South Florida, being Lake Okeechobee, that supplies water to over 8 million residents. And so really understanding how paying attention to what happens with the South Florida Water Management District, the Army Corps of Engineers, what happens with the, with the different legislations that wants to do different things with the water. And so there's definitely a lot for people to understand with that, but also that water is one of the things that once it's kind of used up, we have a challenge with getting it back. So all the different initiatives to create more water or new water. So there's definitely, some initiatives happening around that. And then, of course, like you talked about with saltwater intrusion, I think people even understanding how that works, right? So there's so many topics around, because we have the sea the ocean right there, and with the sea levels rising, how that affects our aquifers and all those different things. So there's a lot of pieces that I'm not sure how do we best or better educate the public and community on these different matters. I mean, I'm trying to do that through this type of platform, but, definitely open to some of your ideas and recommendations as well, Beth.
I think it's really important to start with the students and educating the students. And one of the most impressive places I've ever been and taken my kids is the Grassy Waters. That place is just absolutely incredible. When you understand the history of it and the story behind it, and then how many people Grassy Waters provides water to, it's really impressive. And I think it kind of helps people just put it all together, that this is how it works. This is where it comes from. And, when it comes out of your faucet, the trip that it makes to get there. So I think starting with the kids is really important. And, going back to what I said about where food comes from, having them understand where water comes from. And, some of the kids today, mostly like, middle school, high school, they have their hydro flask, and, they kind of get the idea that single-use plastic water bottles are really bad for the environment. But then they have like 20 hydro flasks. So I'm not really sure, how far ahead we got with that.
Yeah. Well, it's a work in progress for sure. It's definitely starting with the kids, because then they'll go home and tell the adults. So, and then also educating adults. But I think too, people naturally, once they learn something, at least for me, once I've heard kind of like a new fact, that I become a lot more conscious about certain things. So like if I go somewhere and I drink water, and I'm like, okay, where's your recycling bin for this plastic bottle? And, some places have it, some places like, oh, we don't have it. I'm like, so what am I doing with this water bottle? So, but just because I separate things in my house, right? So it's just kind of like a subconscious thing once you kind of pay attention. Or like if you're, brushing your teeth, make sure you stop the water. Don't keep it running, so that way we can conserve water. Or fix those leaky drips in your house, or just different things like that, right? So I think as more people are exposed and educated, like you said, started with children as well, that also helps. But it's also making sure, just like those little examples that I gave, that people can like just relate to the simple things that they do every single day around conservation. So I guess we just got to keep putting this information out there. How do so of course I know COBWRA is an association that is for the residents, but How do the community, the greater community, join along with COBWRA, especially in some of the things that you're watching, like the water bond, as well as, just the different development that's being proposed for the ag reserve? How does other residents, because at the end of the day, we're all one Palm Beach County. So how do all of us help really kind of join COBWRA in these different matters and advocate?
All of our events, or most of our events, are open to the public. And so, for example, we do the candidates forum anytime there's an upcoming election. It's not a debate, it's a forum. So you can, meet the candidates, get to know them. And so we try to be very inclusive with that. So that's one way. Another way is, we have all different committees and we put together programming throughout the year on health and wellness or education, water and wetlands, safety and security. We're very engaged with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office and Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. So we have all of those ways. And then periodically, a couple times a year, although lately it seems to be more frequent, we will do a call to action where we have something that is really important to us. And we ask people to participate, and we do like a digital petition. And we then appear at the county commission meeting talking about the issue at hand that's really important to us. And we present the signatures. And we usually have a couple thousand signatures. So things like that are really helpful. And we do try to expand our reach outside our COBWRA area. And we use, social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Nextdoor as different ways to engage with people to let them know what's happening in the area.
And what's your website, Beth? I know we put it in chat, but I just want you to say it so that way for those who may be listening can also get the website and just be able to connect and learn more about the different things you just mentioned.
Yes, absolutely. Our website is COBWRA.org. So that's the Coalition of Boynton West Residential Associations. It's a little awkward, but it's been in use for 41 years, so we're not changing it now. But that's our website, and there's ways to contact us, see what upcoming meetings are, what our committees have been up to. And we always have a very good speaker every single month. We work to try to have things that are very timely. And we've had a lot of successful speakers and programs, everything from iguana control to drowning prevention to human trafficking. So we really try to keep relevant with things that are extremely important here in Palm Beach County.
I love that. And one more thing, I know we were supposed to bring this up. I almost forgot. How do I forget? It impacts me. So for those who don't know, there was the SB 1078 bill, Senate Bill 1078. And so at this point, what we are doing, AFCD, we're working with the Florida Department of Agriculture's Office of water policy, and we just submitted some questions regarding the bill. Our goal is to get it vetoed. And for those who don't know what that's about, so there were a couple of bills put forward. One was to ban and eliminate soil and water conservation districts across the state. And then the other one was to add different qualifications and eligibility in order to serve as a supervisor. And with these new qualifications and eligibility requirements that could be signed into law any day, would almost wipe out more than half of our current soil and water board because of the requirements to have, I believe it's 10 or 15 years, either you're currently working in or you have worked 10 or 15 years in a agricultural capacity. So you own a farm or own farmland. And then, of course, we would also have to have districts drawn for each seat that would now require each person to live within that particular district once drawn. Currently, we don't have districts that are drawn. So if you live anywhere in Palm Beach County, you can pretty much run for any of the seats in Palm Beach County. And because we have 5 seats versus 7, we wouldn't be able to clearly identify the districts, by kind of mimicking or mirroring like a school district or a county district map. So that presents a whole nother level of challenges. So, just for people who are not aware and voters who may not be aware of what's happening, this is like what we're currently dealing with as your current supervisors. We've been trying to fight it for months, but it definitely had a lot of strong pushes, as many things has this session, but I won't get into it because I won't be political right now. So, just, keeping you posted on that. Beth, I don't know if you had any questions or thoughts on the bill.
We were following this closely, and we did go to Tallahassee in January, and we had a list of things that were initiatives for COBWRA in all different areas, and that was one initiative that was extremely important. And we were really surprised that of all things, those are the ones that move forward. It was really shocking and very unexpected and very disappointing. Everybody that's on the Soil and Water Conservation District here in Palm Beach County genuinely cares and is very engaged with what they're doing. And so to have all of those, like limitations as to who can serve, who should serve is who wants to serve. I mean, that's an awful lot of limitations and restrictions, and really taking a lot of people out of the running that are very, passionate about this. So we will definitely, write the governor or whoever the best point of contact is to request a veto. That's not something we've had to do too much of the past couple of years, but we do have this year something else that we're requesting veto on. And so we'd be happy to support this because this is something that is very near and dear to us and that we're very passionate about.
No, absolutely. We definitely appreciate the support for a veto of this because it's, like I said, it really will change the entire dynamics of our Soil and Water Conservation District Board, and it really will limit who can actually serve. And this is a volunteer board. Like, I just want people to understand that we are, I think, one of the only elected seats that is completely 100% volunteer. We don't get paid a dime for the work that we're doing in the community. So this is very unfortunate that we're having to deal with this at this moment, but we definitely want anyone who's listening and, any way that you can support, write a letter to the governor, call the governor's office. We greatly appreciate your support. And just for reference, it is SB 1078 that you are calling about. So Senate Bill 1078 is the one that we're referencing that we're calling for a veto on. So Beth, I know you have to run. This has been great. We can talk all afternoon about these issues. Anything you want to close with?
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, we could talk all day. These are the things I love talking about. I know you do as well. And, I appreciate all that you do, especially on a volunteer basis for the residents of Palm Beach County. You work so hard. And I'm so glad that we were able to have this chance to visit together and do this conservation conversation.
Absolutely, Beth. And thank you for all that you do. Continue the great work with COBRA. Let us know at the district how we can continue to support you all. But let me know personally how I can be of support as well. And please, if I'm not somewhere that I need to be, text me and let me know. If I'm missing out on the issue, let me know, because sometimes I don't always get all the notification of what's happening. So please just help me stay in the loop so I can be an advocate alongside you and the rest of the team and residents over at COBRA.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to Conservation Conversation. Please make sure you like and share this video with those who may have missed it. So please share it. Lots of great information, lots of ways for you to get involved. And thank you, Cobra. Thank you, Beth, again for participating. And we'll see you next time on Conservation Conversation. Have a great day.